The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was huge. Tejo sat in the human section, which was much smaller than the others. Around him, hundreds of alien beings talked in their strange languages. Some looked like giant insects. Others had tentacles instead of arms. A few were made of what seemed like living rock. Tejo was the only human ambassador here today. His people were still new to space travel. Most aliens saw humans as curious but weak. They had only been flying between stars for 200 years. Many alien races had been doing it for thousands. The meeting started when the ancient keeper walked in. Fraltek was old, even for his people. His skin was like dark leather and his 4 eyes glowed with a strange light. He was the guardian of the great library which held all the knowledge of the galaxy. "Something terrible has happened," Fraltek said. His voice was deep and made everyone stop talking. "Someone has been stealing from our records. They have taken files that are millions of years old." A blue alien with 6 arms raised one of them. "What kind of files?" "Files about the ancients," Fraltek replied. "And something called the Prime Directive 001. Tejo had never heard of either. He looked around and saw that most aliens seemed confused too. Only the oldest ones looked worried. "Who were the ancients?" asked a tall alien that looked like a walking tree. Fraltek's eyes dimmed. "We do not know much. The files are gone. But they ruled the galaxy long ago. They were the first to travel between stars. They guided many young races. What happened to them?" Tejo asked. "They died out. All of them. No one knows why." Fraltek paused. "But someone does not want us to remember them." After the meeting, Tejo walked through the great library. It was like a city made of books and data crystals. Millions of stories and facts from across the galaxy were stored here. He found Jiwoo working at a computer terminal in the human section. Jiwoo was a xenoarchaeologist. She studied old alien cultures. Her job was to help humans understand their place in the galaxy. She was young but very smart. Her fingers moved fast across the keyboard. "Did you hear about the missing files?" Tejo asked. "Yes," Jiwoo said without looking up. "I have been trying to find pieces of them. Look at this." She showed him her screen. There were fragments of text in languages he could not read. "These are backup files," she explained. "Small pieces that were not deleted. I found them in different places." "What do they say?" "I have been translating them. Most are warnings." She pointed to one line. "This one is in the old Kethmori language. It says, 'Do not wake the sleeping death.'" She scrolled down. "This one is an ancient Zorblak script. It means the hunters became the hunted. And this one?" Tejo pointed to strange symbols. "This is the most interesting. It is in a very old universal language. It says, 'Do not hunt the humans.'" Tejo stared at the screen. "That makes no sense. We are not dangerous. We barely have any weapons compared to other races." "That is what I thought too. But look," Jiwoo opened another file. "I found this warning in 17 different dead languages. They all say the same thing. Do not hunt humans. Do not cage humans. Do not threaten humans." "But why would ancient aliens warn about us? We were not even in space then." "I do not know, but someone wanted these warnings hidden." Meanwhile, far away in the outer rim of the galaxy, something terrible was beginning. The Kethmori Empire was the strongest military force in known space. They conquered weak planets and made slaves of their people. Their ships were fast and their weapons were powerful. Commander Zethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship. He was tall and covered in dark scales. His teeth were sharp like knives. He looked at the star map showing human colonies. "These humans," he said to his lieutenant, "they have no real army. Their ships are slow. Their weapons are weak." "Yes, Commander. Our scouts say they are easy targets." "Good, we will start with their farm worlds. Take the strong ones as slaves. Kill the rest." Zethvar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Humans will make good workers in our mines." The first attack came without warning. 3 human colonies went silent in one day. No distress calls. No messages. They simply stopped answering. Back on Nexus Prime, the news reached the council quickly. Tejo received the message while eating dinner. His hand shook as he read it. "They took Haven's Rest," he told Jiwoo when she found him in his quarters. "And New Seoul and Bright Valley. The Kethmori?" "Yes, they are calling it the Great Hunt." Tejo sat down heavily. "They think we are easy prey." Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I found something else today, in the deepest part of the archives." She showed him a data crystal. It was very old and cracked. This was hidden behind layers of security. It took me hours to break the codes. She put the crystal in her reader. It is a message from the ancients. Their last message. The hologram showed an alien unlike any they had seen. It was tall and thin with skin that seemed to glow. Its face looked sad and scared. If you are hearing this, the ancient said, then we are dead. We made a terrible mistake. We woke something that should have stayed sleeping. We tried to control a species that cannot be controlled. We tried to hunt the humans. The message flickered and went dark. There is more, Jiwoo said, but it is damaged. I cannot restore it. Taeho stared at the empty hologram space. The ancients were destroyed by humans. But that is impossible. We were not even in space then. Maybe we were. Maybe our history is not complete. That night, Taeho could not sleep. He thought about the warnings and the missing files. He thought about the human colonies that had gone silent. Most of all, he thought about the fear in the ancient's voice. The next morning brought worse news. More human worlds had stopped sending signals. The Kethmori were moving fast, taking one colony after another. But something strange was happening too. The Kethmori were not reporting their victories. Their messages were short and worried. Some of their ships had also gone silent. Maybe the humans are fighting back, Jiwoo suggested. With what? Most of our colonies have no weapons. I do not know, but something is happening out there. Zethvar stood on his bridge again, but now he was not smiling. His lieutenant looked nervous. Sir, we have lost contact with 3 attack groups. What do you mean, lost contact? They landed on the human worlds as planned. But then, nothing, no reports, no victory signals. Send more ships. Sir, the few reports we got were strange. The humans, they do not fight like other species. They disappeared into the wilderness. They attack at night. They use weapons we do not understand, Zethvar growled. They are just scared animals. Send more ships. But deep inside he was beginning to worry. Something was wrong. The easy conquest was becoming something else. Something that made his scales itch with fear. On Nexus Prime, Jiwoo worked through the night, trying to restore more of the ancient's message. The warning kept echoing in her mind. Do not hunt the humans. She was beginning to understand that maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had forgotten something very important about her species. Something that the ancients had learned too late. Something that the Kethmori were about to discover. 3 months had passed since the Kethmori began their great hunt. What should have been easy victories had become nightmares. Commander Zethvar paced on his bridge, reading reports that made no sense. Sir, his lieutenant said carefully, we have lost another battalion on Haven's Rest. How? Zethvar's voice was sharp with anger. It is just a farming world. They grow food, not warriors. The humans, they do not fight like others, sir. They disappear, then they attack when we do not expect it. On Haven's Rest, Subin crouched behind a fallen tree. She was a simple farmer before the invasion. Her hands had grown vegetables and flowers. Now they held explosives made from farm chemicals. She watched the Kethmori patrol walking down the dirt road. They wore heavy armor and carried powerful weapons. They looked strong and scary. But they did not understand this world like she did. Subin knew every hill and valley. She knew where the streams ran and where the caves hid. She knew which plants were safe and which would poison you. The invaders knew none of this. She pressed the button. The explosion threw dirt and rocks high into the air. When the dust settled, the patrol was gone. Subin was already running through paths only she knew, heading to the next trap. How many did we lose today? Asked Kethmori Captain Vextar. 12, his sergeant replied. The humans used cooking pots filled with explosives. They turned farming tools into weapons. They made our own vehicles explode. Where are their soldiers? That is the problem, sir. They are all soldiers. The farmers, the children, even the old ones. They all fight. Vextar did not understand. In Kethmori culture, only trained warriors fought. Regular people were supposed to surrender when the warriors lost. But these humans fought differently. A human child had thrown stones at his tank. When they caught the child, they found the stones were actually small bombs. An old human woman had offered his soldiers food. The food was poisoned. A human man had asked for help fixing his broken vehicle. The vehicle exploded when they touched it. They do not fight with honor, Vextar said. No, sir. They fight to win. In space above Haven's Rest, Captain Hyunwoo flew his old freighter ship, the Wanderer, through the Kethmori fleet. His ship looked broken and weak. The hull was patched with metal from different worlds. The engines made strange noises. The Kethmori ships ignored him. They thought he was just a scared merchant running away. They did not know his cargo hold was full of weapons and supplies for the human resistance. Kethamori patrol ship ahead, his pilot Junseo warned. I see them. Take us down to the planet's shadow. The Wanderer dropped toward the planet's surface. The Kethamori patrol followed, but Haiyan Wu knew something they did not. He knew about the old mining tunnels that ran through the mountains. His ship flew into a tunnel opening that looked too small for any ship. But Haiyan Wu had flown this route many times. He knew exactly how to angle his ship to fit through the tight space. The Kethamori patrol ship tried to follow. It was too big. It crashed into the mountain, exploding in a ball of fire. Supply drop in 10 minutes, Haiyan Wu announced over the radio. Subin and her fighters were waiting in the forest clearing. The Wanderer dropped crates of weapons, medicine, and food, then disappeared again into the sky. How does he do it? Asked Dongsu, one of Subin's fighters. Humans learn fast, Subin replied. We adapt. Back on Nexus Prime, Jiwoo was working with her alien colleague Thexani. Thexani was a researcher like her, but from a species that looked like tall, thin lizards. I found more fragments, Jiwoo said. They mentioned something called the Last War. The Last War? Thexani's tongue flicked out nervously. What kind of war? I am not sure. But it says the ancients fought a species that would not surrender. A species that turned everything into weapons. Jiwoo paused. A species that fought with no rules. Like the humans are doing now? Maybe look at this fragment. It says they used our gifts against us. They learned from every defeat. They never stopped adapting. Thexani read the text. His scales changed color, which happened when his people were scared. This sounds like the reports from the Kethamori front. Yes. The humans there are using Kethamori weapons against them. They are learning their tactics and using them better than the Kethamori do. On the war front, this was exactly what was happening. Minho had been a teacher before the invasion. He taught history to human children. Now he was teaching Kethamori soldiers about fear. He studied their battle plans that Subin's fighters had captured. He learned how they communicated and how they thought. Then he used that knowledge against them. When the Kethamori expected humans to retreat, Minho had them attack. When the aliens prepared for a big battle, the humans disappeared. When the invaders thought they were safe, humans appeared behind them. They are inside our communication network, reported a Kethamori intelligence officer. They know our plans before we carry them out. How is that possible? Zethvar demanded. We use the best encryption in the galaxy. The humans. They learn very fast, sir. They captured one of our communication devices yesterday. Today they are using our own codes against us. Then changed the codes. We did, sir. 3 times. They broke the new codes each time. Zethvar felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Not fear of death in battle, which was honorable. Fear of an enemy that fought without honor, without rules, without limits. His species had conquered 40 star systems. They had defeated armies and fleets and empires. But they had never fought an enemy like this. An enemy that turned every defeat into a lesson and every lesson into a weapon. Sir, his lieutenant said quietly, some of the troops are asking to retreat. Never, Zethvar roared. We are Kethamori. We do not retreat. But even as he said it, he knew things were going wrong. Very wrong. On Haven's Rest, Subin sat around a campfire with her fighters. They were eating food taken from Kethamori supplies. They were wearing armor stripped from Kethamori soldiers. They were planning attacks using Kethamori maps. How many of their ships did we destroy today? Asked young Sora, who had been a student 3 months ago. 5, replied old Bongsu, who had been a grandfather. We used their own missiles against them. Good, Subin said. Tomorrow we hit their supply depot. I know a way to get inside. How? Subin smiled. It was not a nice smile. We pretend to surrender. They will bring us inside to question us. Then we kill them all. Dongsu looked uncomfortable. Is that honorable? Honor? Subin's smile disappeared. They came to our world to make us slaves. They killed our families. They burned our farms. She stood up. Honor is for people who deserve it. These invaders deserve only death. The others nodded. They had all lost people they loved. They had all seen their homes destroyed. Honor was a luxury they could not afford. In his ship above the planet, Zethvar received the worst news yet. Sir, Captain Vextar is dead. His entire unit is gone. How? The humans pretended to surrender. When our soldiers came to take them prisoner, they exploded themselves. The explosion killed everyone in the compound. Zethvar's claws scraped against his command chair. They killed themselves to kill us? Yes, sir. And they are doing it on other worlds, too. They would rather die than be captured. This was beyond Zethvar's understanding. In his culture, when you were beaten, you surrendered. You lived to fight another day. You did not throw your life away, but these humans seemed to think differently. They fought until they died, and if they could not win by living, they won by dying and taking their enemies with them. Sir, another officer reported, we are receiving surrender requests. From the humans? No, sir. From our own troops. 3 battalions are asking permission to retreat. For the first time in Kethmori history, their soldiers wanted to run from battle, not because they were losing, but because they were afraid. Afraid of an enemy that fought like demons. Zethvar stood up slowly. Send word to High Command. We need reinforcements. How many, sir? Zethvar looked at the reports of missing units, destroyed ships, and terrified soldiers. He thought about Subin and her fighters who had turned a peaceful farming world into a death trap. All of them, he said quietly. Send all of them. But deep in his heart, he was beginning to wonder if all the ships in the Kethmori Empire would be enough to defeat these strange, terrifying humans who fought like nothing else in the galaxy. Ji-Woo stared at the ancient data crystal she had found hidden in the deepest part of the archives. It had taken her weeks to break through the security codes that protected it. Now she understood why someone had tried so hard to hide it. The hologram showed scenes from millions of years ago. The ancients were beautiful beings, tall and graceful, with skin that glowed like starlight. They moved through space in ships that looked more like works of art than weapons. Thexani, you need to see this, she called to her colleague. The lizard-like alien hurried over. His scales turned pale when he saw the images. The hologram showed the ancients arriving at a small blue planet in an unremarkable star system. They came in peace, offering gifts of knowledge and technology to the primitive beings they found there. They are showing humans, Thexani whispered. But this was millions of years ago. Humans were not supposed to be in space then. Watch, Ji-Woo said. The ancient humans looked just like modern humans, but they wore simple clothes and used basic tools. They welcomed the ancients with curiosity and wonder. The ancients taught them about science and medicine and art. For thousands of years, the partnership worked well. Humans learned quickly and grew wise. They began to travel between stars using ancient technology. They seemed grateful and peaceful, but then something changed. The hologram showed a meeting of ancient leaders. They looked worried. The humans are changing too fast, one ancient said. They learn everything we teach them, then make it better. They ask too many questions, said another. They want to know things that are dangerous. Some of them talk about war, said a third. They study conflict like we study art. The lead ancient, who wore a crown of light, spoke slowly. Perhaps we made a mistake. Perhaps we should guide their development more carefully. You mean control them? Asked another ancient, for their own good, and for the safety of the galaxy. Ji-Woo felt cold as she watched. She knew where this was going. The ancients began to limit what they taught humans. They put restrictions on human technology. They tried to control which humans could learn and which could not. Some humans accepted this, but others did not. The hologram showed the first rebellion. It was small, just a few human colonies that refused to follow ancient rules. The ancients sent peacekeepers to bring order. The peacekeepers never returned. By the void, Thexani breathed. The humans destroyed them? Keep watching. What happened next was unlike anything in galactic history. The rebelling humans did not just fight the ancient peacekeepers. They studied them. They learned how ancient technology worked, then found ways to break it. When the ancients sent larger forces, the humans captured their ships and turned them into weapons. When the ancients changed their technology to stop human attacks, the humans adapted faster. The hologram showed ancient cities burning. It showed human fleets using ancient ships to attack ancient worlds. It showed the slow, terrible collapse of the galaxy's first and greatest civilization. They fought with no honor, an ancient leader said in one recording. They used our own gifts against us. They turned our children against us. They made every planet into a battlefield. How long did it take? Ji-Woo asked the computer. The war lasted 2,000 years, the machine replied. At the end, no ancients remained alive. The final recording showed the last ancient leader. He was alone in a ruined city making his final message. If anyone finds this, know what we learned too late. Humans are not like other species. They do not accept limits. They do not know when to stop. They adapt to anything and learn from everything. His glowing skin flickered weakly. We thought we were teaching children. We were awakening predators. They are the galaxy's apex species, he continued. We tried to control them because we were afraid of what they might become. We were right to be afraid, but trying to control them was our greatest mistake. The hologram faded to darkness. Jiwoo and Thexani sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Thexani spoke. If this is true, then the humans fighting the Kethamori are not showing their real strength. No, Jiwoo agreed. They are holding back. Meanwhile, on the war front, things were getting worse for the Kethamori Empire. Commander Zethvar had received his reinforcements, but they were not helping. Human advisor Minho stood in a captured Kethamori command center, studying their battle plans. He was not a soldier by training, but war seemed to come naturally to him. They are sending 3 more fleets, he told Subin. They think more ships will solve their problem. Subin, now the leader of human resistance on 5 worlds, smiled grimly. Let them come. We have a surprise waiting. The surprise was Captain Haiyan Wu and his growing fleet of merchant ships. What had started as one old freighter had become dozens of vessels. Each one looked harmless but carried enough firepower to destroy a Kethamori battleship. The beauty of it, Haiyan Wu explained to his new captains, is that they still think we are just scared merchants. They let us fly right through their formations. Young Wonsik, who had been a student pilot, raised his hand. But how do we know their ship design so well? We learned, Minho answered. Every ship they send, we study. Every weapon they use, we copy and improve. Every tactic they try, we master and use better. This was the truth that was terrifying the Kethamori. Humans did not just fight back. They learned. Every defeat taught them something new. Every victory showed them how to win bigger victories. On the Kethamori homeworld, High Command was getting desperate reports. The humans are inside our computer networks, one general reported. They know our plans before we make them. They are using our own weapons against us, said another. But they made them more powerful. Some of them are fighting like they have done this for thousands of years, said a third. But their records show they are farmers and teachers. Fleet Admiral Caxthor, the highest military leader of the Kethamori, listened to the reports with growing fear. How many reinforcements do we need? All of them, sir. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have. And will that be enough? The room was silent. No one wanted to answer. Finally, the intelligence chief spoke. Sir, we have been studying human history. They have been fighting wars on their homeworld for their entire recorded history. They have weapons we never imagined, strategies we do not understand. But they seem so peaceful when they joined the galactic community. Yes, sir. We think they were hiding their true nature. Admiral Caxthor felt something his species had never known. The fear of extinction. What do you recommend? Surrender, sir. Before they decide to destroy us completely. Never. We are Kethamori. We do not surrender. But even as he said it, reports came in of entire Kethamori fleets disappearing. Of human forces that moved like ghosts and struck like lightning. Of human children who fought like ancient warriors. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Teho received a message from the human government. It was short but chilling. The gloves are coming off. He did not understand what it meant until Jiwoo explained. It means they are going to stop pretending to be weak, she said. It means they are going to show the galaxy what humans really are. And what are we really? Jiwoo looked at the ancient recordings, then at the reports from the war front. Human forces were not just winning now, they were dominating. They were fighting with a skill and fury that made no sense for a species that was supposed to be young and weak. We are what the ancients feared, she said quietly. We are what they tried to stop. We are the species that learns from everything, adapts to anything, and never accepts defeat. But we seemed so peaceful. Because we chose to be. Because we learned from the ancient war that our real nature scares other species. Jiwoo paused. But the Kethamori woke something up. Something we hoped we would never have to show again. That night, as reports came in of more Kethamori defeats, Jiwoo worked to decode more ancient recordings. One phrase kept appearing in different languages. Beware the humans when they remember who they are. She was beginning to understand that the peaceful farmers and teachers fighting the Kethamori were about to remember something the galaxy had forgotten, something that had destroyed the ancients, and shaped the galaxy for millions of years. Humanity was not a young species learning to fight. Humanity was an old species that had been pretending to be young, and now they were done pretending. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from dozens of species shouted at each other in their native languages. Some demanded that humanity be stopped. Others argued that humans were only defending themselves. Ambassador Tejo stood at the human podium, waiting for quiet. When the noise finally died down, he spoke in a voice that was calm but frightening. "We did not want this war," he said. "We never do. We came to the stars hoping to live in peace with you. We built farms instead of weapons. We sent teachers instead of soldiers." He paused, looking around the chamber. "But you have awakened something in us that our ancestors hoped they had buried forever." A tall blue alien stood up. "You speak as if humans are ancient warriors. But your species is young. You have been in space for only 2 centuries. Tejo smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "That is what we let you believe. It was safer for everyone that way." In the back of the chamber, So Young entered quietly. She was new to the diplomatic corps, but she carried herself like someone much older. When she walked, other diplomats stepped aside without knowing why. "What do you mean?" demanded the insect-like representative from the Zex coalition. "We mean," So Young said as she joined Tejo, "that human history is much longer than we told you. We mean that we have been watching and guiding galactic civilization for millions of years. We mean that every major war that did not happen, every species that survived when it should have died, every peace treaty that worked when it should have failed, we were behind it." The chamber fell silent. "Impossible," whispered the Kethmori ambassador, who had arrived to beg for help against the human forces destroying his empire. "Is it?" So Young asked. She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. "Look at the trade routes." "Who suggested them?" "Look at the peace treaties between hostile species." "Who helped negotiate them?" "Look at the technologies that prevented wars." "Who invented them?" The display highlighted hundreds of events across galactic history. In each case, a human advisor, a human merchant, or a human scientist had been involved. "You have been controlling us," accused the rock-like delegate from Granite Prime. "Not controlling," Tejo corrected. "Protecting, guiding, keeping the peace." His voice grew harder. "Until someone decided to hunt us." On the war front, the reality of human capabilities was becoming impossible to ignore. Jae Hyun, a mild-looking scientist who had been studying alien botany just months before, now stood in a human military laboratory. "Show me the new ships," he said to his team. What they showed him would have been impossible according to known physics. Ships that could phase through solid matter. Weapons that turned a planet's own gravity into a crushing force. Shields that absorbed enemy fire and sent it back twice as strong. "How long to build them?" Jae-hyun asked. "The first squadron is ready now," replied Dr. Yoonji, who had been a children's doctor before the war. "The others will be finished by next week." "Good. It is time to end this." The Kethmori learned about the new ships when their entire 7th Fleet disappeared in 30 seconds. One moment it was there, a formation of 200 warships approaching a human world. The next moment it was gone as if it had never existed. "What happened?" Admiral Caxthor demanded. "We do not know, sir. Our sensors detected strange energy readings, then..." "Nothing." "Nothing? The ships are gone, sir. Not destroyed. Gone. We cannot even find debris." Commander Zethvar, now leading what remained of the Kethmori invasion force, felt his sanity slipping away. Nothing made sense anymore. The humans were using technologies that should not exist, fighting with skills they should not have, and winning battles they should not be able to win. "Sir," his lieutenant reported, "we have captured a human child." "A child? Why does that matter?" "Sir, the child destroyed an entire platoon before we caught him. Zethvar went to see this child. Wan Jin looked like he was maybe 12 years old. He sat calmly in the prison cell, not looking scared at all. "How did you kill my soldiers?" Zethvar asked. Wan Jin looked up with eyes that seemed much older than his face. "I learned." "Learned what?" "How you move. How you think. How you die." The child's voice was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing the weather. "Your species is predictable. You always attack the same way. You always make the same mistakes. You are just a child." "I am human," Wan Jin said simply. "We are all soldiers when we need to be. We are all weapons when we must be. Your people forgot that every human child grows up hearing stories of war. Every human learns to fight before they learn to walk." Zethvar backed away from the cell. This was not a child. This was something wearing a child's face, but your species seemed so peaceful, he whispered. Because we chose to be. Because we learned long ago that our real nature frightens other species. Because we hoped we would never need to be what we really are. One Jin stood up, and suddenly he did not look like a child at all. But you hunted us. You tried to make us slaves. You woke up the apex predator of the galaxy. The boy smiled, and Zethvar ran. Back on Nexus Prime, Jiwoo and Thexani were watching the war reports in horror. Not horror at what was happening to the Kethmori, but horror at what humans were showing themselves to be. Look at these battle reports, Thexani said, his scales turning the color of deep fear. The humans are not just winning. They are playing with their enemies. Like cats playing with mice, Jiwoo agreed sadly. We hoped this day would never come. You knew? Some of us knew. A few families, a few organizations. We have been keeping watch for millions of years, making sure no one discovered what humans really are. Jiwoo pulled up more ancient recordings. We are the descendants of the humans who fought the ancients. We never forgot how to war. The recordings showed the truth that no other species knew. After the ancient war, humans had spread across the galaxy, but they had hidden their true nature. They had pretended to be young and weak while secretly guiding galactic civilization. Every major alien species had survived and thrived because humans had helped them, protected them, kept them from destroying each other. Humans had been the galaxy's silent guardians for millions of years. Why? Thexani asked. Because we learned something from destroying the ancients, Jiwoo said. We learned that being the strongest does not mean you have to be the cruelest. We learned that protecting others protects us too. But now someone has broken the oldest law in the galaxy. They hunted us. They tried to enslave us. They forgot that the reason that law exists is not to protect humans. Jiwoo looked at her friend sadly. It is to protect everyone else. The final proof came when the Kethmori tried to activate the ancients' last weapons. Admiral Caxthor had found references to ultimate weapons hidden on dead worlds. Weapons the ancients had built in desperation during their final war. The expedition found the weapons exactly where the record said they would be. Massive machines buried deep in ancient planets, designed to destroy entire solar systems. But when they tried to activate them, nothing happened. They are broken, reported the chief engineer. Can we fix them? No, sir. They were not broken by time. They were deliberately destroyed, sabotaged. The engineer paused. The sabotage was done millions of years ago, sir. By humans. The truth hit Admiral Caxthor like a physical blow. The humans had found and destroyed the ancients' final weapons millions of years ago. They had been that far ahead for that long. They have been preparing for this war since before our species learned to use fire, he whispered. His aide nodded grimly. Sir, what are your orders? Admiral Caxthor looked at the reports of his fleets disappearing, his world surrendering, his empire crumbling. He thought about the human child who fought like an ancient warrior, and the human farmers who had become unstoppable soldiers. For the first time in Kethmori history, he gave an order his people had never given before. Signal the humans. Tell them we surrender, sir. Tell them we were wrong. Tell them we are sorry. Tell them please do not destroy us completely. In space above the dying Kethmori homeworld, So Young received the surrender message. She read it once, then again, then showed it to her staff. What should we tell them? Asked her aide. So Young thought about the ancient warnings, the hidden history, and the choice her species had made long ago to protect rather than conquer. Tell them we accept their surrender, she said finally. But tell them the price of attacking humanity is that they will never be allowed to threaten anyone again. What does that mean? It means we are going to make sure they remember this lesson forever. It means we are going to show the galaxy what happens when you break the oldest law. So Young looked out at the stars. It means the age of pretending is over. The galaxy was about to learn what humans really were, and why every ancient civilization had left the same warning. Do not hunt the humans. The Kethmori homeworld was silent. Their great war fleets were gone. Their mighty armies had surrendered. Their proud empire had crumbled in less than a year. But their world was not destroyed and their people were not dead. So Young stood in what had been the Kethmori capital, now occupied by human forces. But these were not the human forces the galaxy expected to see. They were not cruel conquerors or brutal overlords. They were doctors healing wounded Kethmori. They were engineers fixing damaged cities. They were teachers helping Kethmori children learn to read again. "I do not understand," said former Admiral Caxthor, now a prisoner but treated with respect. "You could destroy us." "Why do you not?" "Because," So Young replied, "destruction was never our goal. Teaching was. Teaching what? That there are consequences for breaking ancient laws. That some species should not be hunted. That the galaxy has guardians even if you cannot see them." She showed him a datapad with information about his species' future. The Kethmori would live, but they would never again travel between stars. Human scientists had changed their biology in ways that would prevent them from surviving in space. "You have crippled us," Caxthor said. "We have prevented you from crippling others," So Young corrected. "Your species can live peacefully on this world. You can build cities and art and music. You can have families and happiness. You just cannot conquer other worlds, but we are warriors. Then be warriors who protect your own people instead of enslaving others. Be warriors who fight for justice instead of fighting for slaves." So Young's voice was kind but firm. "Learn to find honor in creation instead of destruction." Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council, Ambassador Tejo was addressing the assembled representatives one final time. The chamber was packed. Every species in known space had sent delegates to hear what humanity had to say. "We could rule this galaxy," Tejo said simply. "We could have ruled it from the beginning. Our technology is millions of years ahead of yours. Our strategic thinking spans millennia. Our military capabilities are beyond your comprehension." The chamber was dead silent. "Instead, we chose to live quietly among you, to let you believe you were our equals. We chose to guide you gently instead of commanding you harshly. We chose to protect you from threats you never knew existed. That was our gift to you." "But you deceived us," accused the Zex representative. "We allowed you to believe what made you comfortable," Tejo corrected. "Would you have preferred to know that every decision your species made was watched and sometimes influenced by beings you could not hope to defeat? Would that have made your civilization stronger or weaker?" The representative had no answer. "We gave you the illusion of independence while ensuring you used it wisely. We let you think you were the dominant species while making sure you did not destroy each other. We were your guardians, not your masters, and now?" asked the delegate from the Crystal Mines. "Now you know the truth. Now you must choose how to live with it." In the Great Library, Jiwoo was working with Thexani to restore all the deleted records. The true history of the galaxy was being revealed for the first time in millions of years. "Look at this," she said, showing him a record from just 50,000 years ago. The Vorlan Empire was planning to destroy the crystalline hegemony. The plan would have worked too. What stopped them? A plague that affected only Vorlans. It made them lose interest in war and focus on art instead. Jiwoo smiled. "The plague was created by human scientists and spread by human merchants. You turned a warlike species into artists? We saved both species. The Vorlans became some of the greatest poets in the galaxy. The Crystallines developed mathematics that helped everyone. Both civilizations thrived because humans stopped a war that would have destroyed them." Thexani looked through more records. "How many wars have humans prevented?" "All of them," Jiwoo said. "Every major conflict in galactic history for the last 3 million years was either prevented by humans or ended by human intervention. We have been keeping the peace so long that most species forgot war was possible, until the Kethmori broke the oldest law and reminded everyone why it existed." Young-Soo appeared in the library entrance. He was an old man now, but he moved like someone much younger. Jiwoo and Thexani both stood respectfully when they saw him. "Keeper Young-Soo," Jiwoo said formally. "We were not expecting you." "The Council of Shadows is being dissolved," Young-Soo announced. "Our work in secret is finished." "What does that mean?" "It means humanity will no longer hide what we are. We will no longer pretend to be young and weak. The galaxy now knows the truth, and we must live with that truth openly." He sat down at their table, suddenly looking very tired. "For 3 million years, we have carried the burden of protecting a galaxy that did not know we existed. We have prevented wars, guided evolution, and kept the peace by staying in the shadows. It was a heavy burden, but a necessary one. And now the galaxy must grow up. They must learn to keep their own peace, make their own wise decisions, solve their own problems." Young-Soo looked at the records they were restoring. "We can guide them, but we can no longer do everything for them." Thexani asked the question that was troubling everyone. "What if they cannot handle the truth? What if knowing how powerful humans are makes them afraid? Then they will adapt or they will not, Youngsu said simply. That is what species do. They adapt to new realities or they die. Humans learned this long ago. Now others must learn it too. On Haven's Rest, Subin was back to farming. Her fields were green again, growing food for both humans and the few Kethmori prisoners who were helping rebuild what the war had damaged. She worked alongside Vextar, the former Kethmori captain who had tried to conquer her world. Now he was learning to grow vegetables instead of planning battles. I do not understand your people, Vextar said as they planted seeds together. What do you not understand? You defeated us completely. You could have killed us all. Instead, you teach us to farm. Subin looked at the alien who had once been her enemy. His scales were brighter now, healthier. The anger had left his eyes. Killing you would have been easy, she said. Teaching you to live better is harder, but it lasts longer. On my world, the strong rule the weak. On my world, the strong protect the weak. That is why we are strong. Vextar was quiet for a while thinking about this. Finally, he said, Will humans always be watching us? Humans are always watching everyone. We have been for millions of years. But now you know we are watching. Subin smiled. Maybe that will help you make better choices. Captain Hyanwu was back to flying merchant routes, but now his ship was part of an open fleet. The Wanderer no longer had to pretend to be weak. It flew through space as what it really was, one of the most advanced vessels in the galaxy. His crew was training alien pilots, teaching them technologies that had been hidden for millennia. But the lessons came with warnings. These weapons can destroy stars, he told a class of young alien cadets. These shields can protect entire worlds. These engines can cross the galaxy in days. He paused, looking at each student seriously. With great power comes great responsibility. Use them wisely or humans will take them away. How can you take them away? Asked a bold young student. Hyunwoo smiled. Child, we built them. Do you really think we cannot unmake them? The student went quiet. Back on Nexus Prime, the new Galactic Council was meeting for the first time since the Kethmori War. The council chamber looked the same, but everything had changed. Ambassador Taeho sat in the human section, which was now the most important section in the room. Every decision would be influenced by what humans thought about it. The first item, announced the council speaker, is the establishment of new laws for galactic civilization. The debate that followed was unlike any in galactic history. Species that had never cooperated before were working together, united by their new understanding of their place in the universe. The first law was simple. No species shall hunt, enslave, or attempt to destroy another species without facing the intervention of humanity. The second law was equally clear. All species shall settle disputes through negotiation and council mediation before considering violence. The third law made everyone uncomfortable, but no one argued with it. Humanity reserves the right to intervene in any situation that threatens galactic peace, using whatever methods they deem necessary. When the voting was finished, every law had passed unanimously. As the council session ended, Taeho stood and made a final statement. We never wanted to rule you. We wanted to protect you. That has not changed. But now you know who your protectors are. Now you know the price of threatening the innocent. Now you know why the ancient warning said, do not hunt the humans. He looked around the chamber at the representatives from hundreds of worlds. We are still your guardians. We are still your guides. We are still your protectors. But we are no longer your secret. Live wisely, grow peacefully, and remember that the galaxy has apex predators who have chosen to be shepherds instead of wolves. But what if we forget? Asked a small voice from the back. Taeho smiled sadly. Then we will remind you. Gently if possible, firmly if necessary, just as we always have. Years later, children across the galaxy would learn the true history of their worlds in school. They would learn about the ancient humans,